Welcome back, everyone. Today I would like to talk about writing an interface for a module which you imported into ExJS so that ExJS understands how to use the module so that other programmers after you can use that interface in the ExJS way. That's about it. So, on the right side you can see a couple of text fields, text area field, and on the left side you can see that I created two smaller modules and I want to import them from this tiny field editor and this tiny prefix field. And I want to import them using global so that we can use the name of the tiny field editor and the name on the Windows level. Okay, what next? And in here I created this text area field, which is the top one with editor field, and I have a data binding to text field value, and on the display field below I have the same value. So let's check that. In here, if I click into the editor field, you see that this toolbar comes down, and if I mark a word, I press B, it gets big, bold. If I go for this part, italic, you can see that it's italic. So I just wrote a tiny little bit to create my own text area field editor. And with this, if I leave that field, it goes away again. If I click in here again and I mark this, I can make it non-bold, non-italic. So that's the first one. But how do I use this for the text area field? In my main controller, I'm saying wait until imported module, and if it is the tiny field editor, then grab me the text area field, get the input element ID, and run the text tiny field editor, which was global and default, so that we get the name in here. And if you look in here, you can see it says tiny text field field editor. So we're just using that. We're adding the input ID, and we are adding this one. From the text area, we are saying set value, so that once we update the text in here, making it bold, then we want to run the set value, because otherwise we wouldn't get the data binding and the preview down here wouldn't update. So it's really important to be able to say, I need an update value function and I want to pass this to my module which I just imported. But doing this all the time, once we have a text area field, might be not very useful for other programmers if you have tons of text area fields, text fields where you want to add this editable button effect. So let me go back to my form and go for the next one. So I have this birthday, and you out of the box can see it looks a bit different, mainly because of the placeholder. The placeholder says printed as DD, MM, and so on. But then we are adding the data slots, which you will see in a bit. I want only these Ds, Ms, Ys, and Hs, the M we already have in here, to be editable. So if I click in here and I press 15, 10, 2010, at 16, Yeah, it doesn't make sense. 59. Then I keep the structure of it without changing anything. And it only changes the D's, M's, and Y's. So to use that, I just pass in the data slots. And in my main controller, again, we are waiting for tiny prefix field. And then we can pass in again the ID and run tiny prefix field, the element ID, slots, except that is kind of a regex function where you can check which keys you want to allow, and a pattern. And the pattern we get from the placeholder in here. So again, if I have to do this for all these in here, with different slots and so on, that's not the way to go if you have to always to wait for the tiny prefix field and so on. You just want to type that once and make it reusable. That's why I, in this case, came up with the idea to say, let me just pass a plugin. And the plugin gets the timing, when did the import happen, the placeholder, and other stuff. As you can see in here, I placed in here my data accept, data slots, and I still do have this plugins. So it's not a lot to take care about if we go on that route. And for all the other fields like MAC address, I didn't do anything in here. So if I go in here for the MAC address, I know I can only use capital letters and not all of them, just a couple of them, and it works. So let's take a look on the prefix field. This is the plugin I wrote. It extends from plugin abstract. I could have gone with a component, but I preferred in here a plugin so that I can use this for text field, number fields, text area, and all the stuff, just using a plugin. And on the initialization, I say if tiny prefix field hasn't been loaded yet, then listen to imported module and check if it is the tiny prefix field. And then run init class. And the init class is the same as before. I just streamlined it so that this gets created. I just get in here plugin parent, and I'm just saying, okay, get me the input element from my component, the ID, get me the data slots, data accept, and the placeholder. And we're good to go. And further that, I have nothing in here. So I just created some few lines to create my plugin to be able to use that in my form and say, okay, load the prefix field plugin and all the other ones will work. So I can just go in here and click all the numbers I want and the perfect telephone number, just the way I needed it. So here are two examples for the prefix field plugin, which is my interface from my module into ExJS. If you learned something today, I would be very happy if you leave me a subscription. It's free. And otherwise, see you the next time.